Hey guys, Brandon here from Exotic Cars 19. Usually I'm not in front of the camera. Usually I'm behind the camera capturing content of some exotic cars. But I thought I'd bring you guys one of these videos. This is my first time, just a disclaimer, first time using this whole setup. I got my DSLR on a suction cup, and hopefully you guys could hear me all right. I got an external mic on there, and hopefully you guys could see me all right. But anyway, so like I said, usually I'm filming exotic cars behind the camera, but I thought I'd bring you guys one of these cars. I've had this Subaru BRZ for a little over 9 months, but a Subaru BRZ in general for closing in on about over a year and a half to maybe even 2 years now. November will be 2 years. And within that time and within the mileage I've put on them, I have found 8 things I dislike about the Subaru BRZ. Now, just to say, I don't want this to turn anyone off from a BRZ. If you're considering getting an FRS, GT86 or BRZ, get them. So in this year and a half I've had a BRZ, it's been amazing. I absolutely love the ownership experience. Awesome car. But here are 8 things that you will experience if you get a Subaru BRZ. Alright, so the first thing that I dislike about this Subaru BRZ is the whole 200 horsepower thing. Not so much the fact that it only has 200 horsepower, just the fact that you won't ever stop hearing about it. I mean, you got the car, so you would obviously know the power, but you just won't stop hearing about it. Every single car show you go to, you're gonna get people that go up to you and say, oh, only 200 horsepower, right? They didn't change anything with the engine. Oh, why didn't you get the Mustang? You get a whole lot more horsepower, same money. But that's with any car. You're gonna get the, oh, you should have got this, you should have got that. Honestly, people compared this car to the Genesis, people compare it to the Miata, people compare it to everything, and I never understand why. This car is something that you really can't compare to anything else. It has the same formula that Lotus put. It's kind of keep it lightweight. Power's not the #1 priority. It's the fun of driving and cornering and windy road stuff, except it's a little bit more practical. But this is the poor man's Lotus, I guess you could say. I would say this one's maybe a bit more practical as far as a daily driver, especially considering the price. But yeah, you won't stop hearing about the 200 horsepower thing. Me personally, I'm fine. It would be a whole lot more fun with more power, obviously. Can't go wrong with that formula, but at 200 horsepower with weighing in at 2,700 pounds, it's a great car. So people talk about the horsepower when they never driven the car. That's not good. So 200 horsepower thing gets annoying. Okay, number 2 is sticking on the power, the topic of power. The only part that annoys me on the power, it's not as underpowered as at least I don't think it's as underpowered as people think. But there is one part that's a bit annoying, and that's the low end torque, the low RPM torque. There is none. Honestly, I've driven some good cars. That's probably why I really feel it. I've driven the new C7 Vet. That's my dad's. Luckily, I get to drive that. I've driven my neighbors and good friends' Lotus Evora S. And all those cars in any gear and at any current speed and at any RPM, if you gun it, you will go and you will be pushed to the back of your seat. Not so much with this car. In fact, when I get over this bend, you're not going to be able to tell, but I mean, hopefully you guys could at least hear something. But yeah, low end RPM or low end torque, it's not there. To give you an example, I'm in 4th gear doing 35 miles an hour, 23 or so 100 RPM. I gun it, all show no go. You kind of hear the engine working, but you're kind of going nowhere. So low end torque, yeah, this is not the car you're going to be filming those reaction videos with the girl in a bikini sitting in the passenger seat. You're going to hit the gas pedal and she's not going to know you did. But this car does do a really good job talking about the torque and the speed and everything. This car, it's not so much a go fast car, and definitely not a go fast car in a straight line. But if you want to feel like you're going pretty fast, keep it in 2nd gear, mid RPMs, and then you gun it. And that's going into 3rd gear, squealing the tires a little bit. You feel like you're going fast. I never even sped. I'm doing 45 miles per hour on a 45 mile per hour road. I just got there fairly quickly. So this car isn't necessarily fast, but it feels fast. And that's the fun factor of this car, and that's the formula of the car I was mentioning earlier. And the third thing I dislike about this car, it's not so much of a big deal, it's just a little nitpick thing. You probably hear this joke a lot with the FRS, GT86, and BRZ. This car has crickets in the engine. At idle, not when you're cruising, but at idle, it just sounds like crickets chirping at midnight. The engine moving, it just sounds like there's a certain piece or something in the car that needs oil or something. It's a weird thing. It sounds like there's crickets in the car, which gets annoying when you're listening to your car idle for like more than 10 minutes. You start to really notice it. But when you're cruising around or whatever, you don't listen to it. It's just a weird thing. I really don't know the mechanics behind it. I don't really know why it does that. One other pretty minor thing that just doesn't really make sense to me is the whole keyless feature. It works great most of the time. There's just one thing I just don't understand. So with the Limited and the Series Blue, which is pretty much a Limited, you get the keyless feature. I bet you it's the same deal with the WRX and all Subaru keyless feature cars. So basically, you get out of your car, and when both doors are closed and the trunk closed, everything's closed, and you press the two little nubs on the door, everything locks. Works great. Then you go out, you do whatever you're doing wherever, and then when you come back to your car with your passenger, with the key in your pocket, and then you put your hand in, it senses when your hand touches the back of the handle on your side, and it unlocks the driver's side door and not the passenger side door. So then you have to get in, or just while it's open, unlock the cars, both doors on the car, then your passenger gets in. So it just doesn't make any sense to me, because when my passenger and I are walking up to the car, and then I touch the door handle, and then they hear the unlocking, they start cranking on the door handle, I'm like, hold on, wait, I gotta get in, I gotta unlock it, and then we can sit down. I don't know why they didn't integrate, because I've seen these features before in other cars where it's where they both unlock, and then when the car goes over 5 miles an hour, the whole car locks down again. That's a smart system. I don't know why Subaru didn't integrate that, or something at least close to it. So yeah, that's a bit confusing. Not that big of a deal, because most of the time I'm driving around on my own as well. So not that big of a deal. It's just something that kind of makes me wonder. The fifth thing I dislike about this car, this is pretty nitpicky, and no one else has complained about it, so I might just be the first. This car has a horn that is straight out of a Japanese scooter. It sounds so pathetic. I won't honk on this road just because there's a lot of bikers and everything. I don't want to scare anyone. But in fact, it's not going to scare anybody. It's just going to make them laugh. This horn is so pathetic. I'll put in a little clip of the horn at use. Like I said, it sounds like a little scooter. Like a Honda scooter would sound more aggressive than the horn on this thing. And you hear exactly where the horn is. It's over by your passenger's feet, over by like the floorboards down there. Like an air horn sounds so much better. Any sound in the world, I would rather have come out of this when I press the horn. It is such a weak, pathetic horn. So what you do in a road rage or whatever kind of situation, do not honk the horn. You're going to embarrass yourself quickly. Simply flash the lights and you're good to go. All right, number 6 is a bit weird. There's always going to be some noise. Here's the thing. The Subaru BRZ, as far as a quality standpoint, is something we have to kind of respect, because most cars, you get an obvious problem within their first 2 years. People know about it. Oh, the transmission. Oh, it's this. Subaru BRZ, as far as reliability, is pretty good. But this is a weird thing. Nothing on the interior feels like it's falling apart, but there's always some noise the car's making from the inside. And I know exactly what it is. It's a little plastic pin right here. I haven't talked to Subaru about that. I'm sure they could fix it, and I'm sure it's a very easy fix, but it's just very weird. Sometimes that doesn't make sounds and there's something else, but I've tightened everything down. I make sure that I don't have anything, or water bottles or anything. There's just always gonna be some noise that you might hear every once in a while, and I ask my passengers if they're hearing it, and sometimes they say no, so I might just be going crazy, but I always feel like there's some noise being made in the interior. Number 7 and 8 are pretty similar. Speaking of the transmission, this car, upshifting, sometimes it feels a bit notchy. Now, the warmer your car, the engine, the warmer your transmission is, the less you'll notice this. Obviously, when it's kind of cold out or whatever, you'll definitely notice. But sometimes, and a lot of times, I mean, I'll just demonstrate right now. I'm in 6th, I'll drop it to 5th, I'll gun it a little bit, bring it to 5th, very easy. let off the clutch nice and easy. The car, it shifts great. But every once in a while, it feels like you're crushing something and it's kind of getting stuck on something. And yes, my foot is all the way in on the clutch, in case you're wondering that, because I've talked about that and that's the number one thing I hear. Sometimes it feels like it's getting caught up on something. It gets me at random times. But other than that, the transmission does work well. It's not any big issue. It's just weird, and sometimes that happens. Okay, and that brings me to number 8, and that's downshifting. Downshifting from 6th all the way to 3rd, not a problem. You could rev match. The foot position, people say is good for rev matching and heel towing. I don't really notice that, but the shifts are really smooth. From 3rd to 2nd, this car, if you are rolling ever so slightly, this car hates to be downshifted into 2nd gear. So what you do is you bring it all the way down to 3rd, clutch in, bring it to neutral, come to a complete stop, and then start from there. You could get into 2nd every once in a while, but if this car is barely rolling and you don't even know it's rolling, but if it is, it just doesn't like 2nd. So with that said, you could forget about downshifting to 1st if you're planning on doing that. That's not happening. The way you get into 1st is, again, you downshift all the way to 3rd. Once there, you put the clutch in, bring it in neutral, come to a complete stop, and you put it in 1st or 2nd, and then roll away from there. This car does a good job at rolling away from a standstill in 2nd as well. It's a little bit smoother. So yeah, downshifting into those gears, not that good. But with those two, complaint number 7 and 8 said, the transmission actually works very well. It's not like the Genesis Coupe, and it has an unlimited amount of problems. This car, with all of that said, I'm done with my complaints. This car is absolutely great. It is a poor man's everything almost. People say it's a poor man's Porsche with its 4-cylinder, a low center of gravity, boxer engine. People say it's a poor man's Lotus because of its low weight and awesome cornering capability. People say it's a mixture of everything great, and that's because it is. This car is a bargain for what it is. It looks absolutely beautiful. Of course, people will have their own opinions. I love the way this car looks, especially the Series Blue. So I thought I'd bring you guys a little video of, if you have a Subaru BRZ long enough, what will you notice? And that's it. And if you consider, or if you really think about it, it's some really minor stuff I mentioned. Nothing that's gonna be putting this thing in the shop or anything like that. This car has 2,800 miles. My last BRZ had about 5,000, so I put enough to get some opinions together. So I want to make, if you guys are interested, let me know, but I want to make a video where I gather some of my favorite things about the Subaru BRZ, and I make the same kind of video. So with all the complaints said, please, like I said, don't let this be a turn off. This car is absolutely great. So plenty more videos coming your way. I just thought I'd bring you guys this video. So thank you guys so much for watching, and have a good day.